Hey there guys, so I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's video, where today I'm going to be going over a more personal topic. And what I'm going to be going over is, of course, the concept of your chosen family. And this is something that I think is really relatable to a lot of LGBT people and gay people in general, because a lot of times we really struggle with having that, full acceptance from our biological family and having sort of an outlet on where we can discuss our issues and sort of what we're going through. And I really just want to emphasize how important this is to find that family, especially if you're somebody who may live in an area where it's really difficult to sort of have that outlet and people to reach out to. Throughout my journey, of course, coming up to almost 31 years of my journey, one thing that I really struggled with, as far as, just being, honest and open to family, is one thing I really struggled with is I wanted to be a people pleaser, or, I was trying to be a people pleaser for my overall biological family. And I think that that brought a lot of, mental torment and mental, sort of issues because of that, because of constantly trying to be the ideal person for them. And I think this is not only, an experience with me alone, but an experience with a lot of other gay people. And so what I realized, is that there is not going to be a way where you can completely change somebody else's perspective. It's something that they have to take the time to understand themselves and to understand where you are coming from, and to basically step inside your shoes and know what it is you're going through. And until that person, whether it be your biological family or anybody else that is, not understanding of you, until they come to that realization to take a step back and wonder and to, be willing to understand, then that's not going to change, unfortunately. But one thing that does help is to having a group of friends around you, which again, this would be your chosen family. You've likely heard this term before, especially if you're a gay person. You've heard this because it's a very common, sort of concept, because we as LGBTQ people really struggle with having that acceptance from our biological family. Now, I'm sure that there are a lot of LGBTQ people that do have that acceptance, but for a lot, especially if you're somebody who lives in an area like I live in, who lives in, the southern states, then you likely understand what that experience is like. And so that's what I really want to discuss, is why this is important. One thing that I really failed to understand is how important my chosen family was, because a lot of times I would solely focus on how much I could impress my overall, biological family, but I didn't think about, the people that were really sort of listening to me as well. And it's hard. It's hard to have this dichotomy between both of these, because you want to be, like a lot of, kids or anybody who, is really loving of their parents, they want to have that acceptance and they want to, really get that from their parents. But a lot of times it's not easy. Even with me in my 31 years, it's not easy. I still have a lot of mental torment where I want that acceptance from family. And that's why I went through the period that I went through, where I tried to change. But it comes to a point in our life where we have to get to that point where we focus on ourselves and not focus on everybody else. You do have to get to a point to where, you know, let your biological family, you know, let them be, and you just live your life. And again, it becomes very hard another concept as well that becomes very hard to, get over as well, to have that acceptance from your family, is faith. And, Christianity has been a big thing with me and throughout my whole life. And so when you have that as well, when you have that aspect as well, that has become a barrier for, family to be accepting of you, it makes it even harder. And so that's the reason why I want to mention this. One thing I remember, whenever I was going through the process in my early 20s, when I really was out and open, is that I was able to fully be myself around, my friends. There was a complete difference with how I acted around my friends versus how I acted around my family. And this is still basically the case today. Unfortunately, this is the case for a lot of LGBTQ people. Is it's sad to say, but we do a lot of times have to live, this sort of double life, to, in a lack of a better term to say it, because we have to focus on how we project ourselves around our actual biological family. One thing that I really struggled with throughout, my years in growing up, is that I really always worried about how I acted around, my biological family, and how, the different things that I say, how I would speak, and so many different things. I would worry about every little thing and how I acted, how I moved. And that is one thing that is, it's very difficult. It becomes this constant sort of job to, okay, do I need to do this way? Do I need to act this way? Do I need to say this? And I still kind of have that even around my family. And it's sad. But that's unfortunately the way things are when you don't have a society that's as accepting, as understanding of where you're coming from. And so, again, when I was around, my chosen family, in other words, is that I was able to really embrace myself. I was able to have fun. I was able to express myself in a lot of ways. And I was able to, pretty much say what I wanted and to be honest. It wasn't like I was a completely crazy person. It was just that I was able to fully embrace, who I was, who I am, to them. And that's something that I missed over these past 5 years when I was, kind of in the closet and I was trying to change, quote unquote. And I missed that. One thing I did a lot of times throughout these 5 years is that I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't able to have that connection with anybody because I couldn't relate to anybody, that may be straight. It was hard to relate to somebody because, I knew the struggles that I was going through. I knew what I was going through, and I knew that everybody wouldn't understand it. I knew that that was going to be the case, and so I would constantly just, focus on myself, focus on my work, and just try to, let everything be slid away, pushed aside, so I wouldn't have to think about the struggles I was going through. But the thing is you have to have an outlet. You have to have people there where you can talk about your issues and your struggles. Otherwise, it becomes an even bigger issue, as time goes along. And so, again, I think that's the biggest thing that I want to share, and I think is very important. We have to be able to have that group of people, that, those friends, that chosen family, to be able to reach out to. And I know this is very hard, for a lot of people. We all can't, it's especially, again, like if you're somebody who lives in the South, if you're somebody who lives in an area where you just can't, one thing I had to do whenever I was younger and I was, at the process of coming out, is that I had to remember the only way that I was able to actually go and actually be in around people like me in the LGBT community was actually to drive to Nashville. That was the closest place that I could go. And that was over an hour and a half drive. So that was the only place that I knew that I could go where I could, meet other people like me. And that's sad, but that's the case for a lot of people. And I think somebody who lives in a larger town and a larger city doesn't understand sort of how that feels when you don't have, an outlet to where you can reach out to other people. Granted, we do have phones, we do have a way to build communities online, and it's much easier now to connect with people. However, I think it's really important to have those people around you where you can actually go and see them, where you can reach out to them. That's like with me, I've been reconnecting with a lot of friends that, have been there since the beginning. They've been very understanding. They've been understanding of my journey, even though I, cut a lot of my friends off because I feel like I wasn't supposed to talk to them. Again, because of my faith, I felt like I was supposed to get rid of anybody who was, you know, not a Christian, wasn't living, you know, holy, in other words. And that's what I felt I had to do. I felt like I had to cut off all those people. But that's not a life worth living when you can't really connect with the people that you truly love and the people that truly love you and care for you. And that's, you can't do that. And that's the reason why I mention these things, especially when it comes to your faith and your sexuality. And the reason I mention them is because I want people to understand that it is not worth it to try to, suppress a lot of these things. You have to have people there that are going to listen to you. I remember many times when I was in California, my closest friend, we had dated as well, but we've always stayed friends despite, dating. And he was always very, you know, understanding. He would always be there when I had many issues. Like I've mentioned before, I've had to deal with panic attacks, I've had to deal with depression and anxiety. And many times over, despite me, feeling like I'm completely insane a lot of times, he still was there to, give me a place to where I can, confide in him and to really be able to discuss what I'm going through. And he didn't judge me, and that's what you have to have. And again, like I said, I know it's hard to find that group of people, but really take the time to find your community. If you can find people online, I mean, there's many outlets that you can really, check out and find communities that you can connect with and that you can reach out to. I'm sure there's even local, sort of communities that you can reach out to as well. And really take the time to find those people that are willing to, be there for you and to willing to talk to you and discuss things with you if you're going through any issues. And again, I think this is very important, especially if you're somebody who does have a biological family that is not easy to really discuss these issues with. So really take the time to find that community wherever it may be and really lean on them when you need them and you need somebody to listen to you, because we do need that support system. Thank you guys once again for watching this video. I really enjoyed this topic. I think this is one of the most important things when it comes to, being LGBTQ and a gay person, and to having that sense of community around you. I think it's the most important thing you can have. One thing I do want to share before I do end this video as well is that I know you guys have seen my coaching content. What I do want to share is that this coming week, I'm going to be doing a live stream where I'm going to be discussing the basically the difference in my online fitness coaching, what makes my coaching unique. And in this discussion, with my main focus on, prioritizing, LGBTQ men who are 30 plus. My main focus with this live stream is to explain what the sort of focus is for my online fitness coaching and how I want to serve the community in itself and really share the importance of how can be a really crucial aspect of your overall health, not only physically, but mentally. And especially if you're a gay person, I think this is a very, important thing to be aware of. And so I want to share that with you guys in this upcoming live stream. You can check it out on, of course, my YouTube channel and click the notify me button under that live stream when you go to the live section on my YouTube channel. But again, guys, I really appreciate your time. I thank you for watching these videos. And if there's any topics that you would like me to discuss, feel free to let me know. But with all that being said, guys, I will have another video for you guys soon. I've been trying to focus on uploading these every Sunday. So again, guys, thank you. And if you have any questions or anything that you would like to share with me, feel free to let me know. But I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next one.